that
I'm okay. We can start.
can get what he's going to.
There should be a file on the desktop.
Where?
Where? Because I don't see it.
Is it that A? Is it?
No,
No?
it's minutes on the desktop. Is it on the desktop, Robert?
Oh, it's here?
Is it the thing that's right next to the Adobe?
She's at the light waiting for the turn green.
No.
She doesn't
We do this all the time. Okay.
Where is it? So no, teach us all. Where is it?
Minimize it.
Okay. Right there?
Click on
No.
and then refresh it up there.
Nope.
Yeah. And then it's just.
Oh, you know what? We don't.
Allison, are you in?
You're good?
Thank you.
We're ready.
This is really good.
We won't beat that.
Yes, it's always coming. Yeah.
Wait. Do I need this meeting on it? Do I need? No.
Crono, you're not
I can
going
close
this
out
week?
about this.
Oh, I've been muted.
Oh, coming on Saturday.
Brian?
Are you going to stay overnight Saturday?
I would like to announce that a quorum is present. The meeting is duly called, and the notice of the meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act. The time is now 6:04, and the following board members are in attendance: Rhonda Timish, Catherine Sells, Christy Hassett, Allison Lasan, Tracy Miller, Jenny Prosnick, and Angie Cox. I've asked Ms. Sells to please lead us in prayer tonight.
We come before you just humbly knowing the task that we have at hand. I pray for wisdom for all of those that are seated around this table. I pray for just divine decisions. I pray for our staff and for our students tonight, and just that they would find favor in safety and knowledge and wisdom, and just let us know tonight that our decisions that we are making, that they need to be for the good of all of our students, for all 52,000. In Jesus' name, amen.
Yes, Ms. Cox, Board. Our first item is an action item, and we appreciate the flexibility of the board that you would move the location here where we could take action. So, as you know, we had a plumbing problem at Arbor Creek Middle School. It ruined one of the wood floors in the gym area, and so we need to take action to get that fixed ASAP, since volleyball, basketball, all that's happening. So that's why we asked to accelerate this. So we'll let Jason, if you want to just put them in briefly on what's needed.
Okay. Good evening, President Cox, members of the board. We are bringing this item forward to expedite the repair and replacement of the gym floors at Arbor Creek Middle School. As the board item states, an ice machine water line failed last month, and the water made its way down the hall and into the auxiliary and main gym floor areas. By approving this item tonight, it will allow for the vendor to have the new flooring complete by early November, and then in time for the basketball season that will then start. That is the history, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have at this time.
Ms. Prosnick, you want to start off with any questions?
I don't have any questions.
Ms. Hassett? No question. Ms. Timish? Charles?
Oh, man.
Ms. Lazan? Okay.
And Jason, what was the replacement cost?
The cost was $91,650. This is a claim that we have made with the insurance, and so the district would be responsible for the $50,000 deductible.
Just want to confirm that we'll be prepared and ready for the season for the kids.
Yes, ma'am. The vendor has responded to us that once we have the approval and put the PO on, that it would take approximately 5 to 6 weeks for that floor to be completed. And so we're heading toward early, like the first week of November. So we believe it will be ready for the season.
All right. Would someone like to make a
Ms.
motion? Oh, Mr. Miller?
No, Ms. Cox, I move to approve the replacement and repairs, including all the associated expenditures of the Arbor Creek Gymnasium floors utilizing Gelco through the buy board number 560-18 cooperative bid for indoor and outdoor sports services, repair and renovation, and gym floor refinishing as recommended by administration.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. That's a motion by Mr. Miller. Do we have a second? Second by Ms. Lasan. All in favor?
Aye.
That's 7-0. Motion carries. Thank you. Dr. Rogers?
Thank you, Ms. Cox, and I'm sure Mr. Hughes and Mr. Martin are going to hang around, right? No, I'm teasing. So really, the main reason for tonight is a called board workshop for us to continue the discussion about boundaries, and, you know, we're getting close to a time. Jeff, go. Yeah, we're not showing those. Right? Okay. To discuss boundaries, and so these are drafts. We're getting close to where the draft will hopefully, with your input tonight, get a little closer to being finished. So I'm going to turn that over. There's been a lot of work done by Dr. Coburn, by Rocky, and with Templeton Demographics, and so we appreciate all their efforts. And so I'm going to turn this over to
Okay.
Dr. Coburn.
Thank you, Dr. Rogers. Thank you, Mrs. Cox and members of the board. I'm hopeful and confident that we can give you guys some good information on what has been several months of work to get to this point. We're excited to be able to kind of give you some first draft looks at some projects that are going on, as well as some things that may be happening in the future. I can start without it. Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Sorry about that, Dr. Cole.
It's okay.
It's scary.
Okay. And really, you know, the work that we've done, it's, of course, having our four cornerstones in mind and trying to come up with solutions long-term for our district that satisfy those four cornerstones. Certainly resource stewardship is one we think about here, community engagement, but also student learning and the student experience in terms of providing the best possible things that we can. So the purpose of this workshop tonight is we will present to you some demographic context for why we're here, why we're discussing adjustments to some boundaries. We will provide you some information on some transportation, current programming, future program considerations, and how those things have factored into what is presented in your packets this evening. We will present to you, and you have them, some draft maps for the following boundary adjustments: the retiring of Hedrick Elementary School, the newly being constructed Mill Street Elementary, Bridlewood Elementary and Flower Mound Elementary, and a boundary adjustment there that we had talked about several months back, and some of that growth and development in the southwest portion of the district that would impact Bluebonnet and Old Settlers Elementary Schools. Included in all of those is grandfathering, and we'll talk about grandfathering a few times tonight. And what is grandfathering? It is opportunities where available to allow people to continue to attend school where they had attended school if a boundary adjustment is made during your tenure in that school. So we will discuss and certainly get some input from you on grandfathering considerations. We'll talk about opportunities that would exist in the community to provide feedback, what the next steps would be in this process, and then finally we'll talk to you about some future boundary adjustment timeline projects and things that are on our radar that are not being presented to you tonight, but that will be needing to be examined down the road. I want to provide a little bit of context and just take a look at kind of a 30,000-foot overview, and some of this is the kinds of things that you get in those quarterly updates. Look at some long-range projections. and then talk a little bit about feeder projections. And I know that that's, you probably can't read all of that, but you've gotten this in quarterly updates. Basically, where it's orange and red, that's faster growth in terms of future lots than where it is yellow or tan. So you can see that we have some areas down there in the southwest and certainly in the east where we have lots of orange and red, where we do have some future development that is coming our way. There's a couple of these specific areas that we'll be discussing in a little bit more detail tonight, but did want you to see that we do certainly have some areas where we are continuing to grow. The 10-year forecast is something that you have seen before and will continue to see. We always include this in our quarterly updates. The part here that is of greatest import, and there will be a new 10-year forecast coming in the Q3. You get that annually in the Q3. So you've got some updated numbers tonight. The 10-year will be coming in the not too distant future. But the thing to note is that ninth grade is typically a large grade level in every school district. Part of that is the ninth grade bubble, unfortunately. It's a grade where kids have a hard time getting out of. But when you see that 10th grade is our second largest grade over the course of several years, and then 8th grade, and if you compare our 12th grade numbers to our first grade numbers, where we've already been able to capture those students for a year, you'll see that we are having late year 9 through 12 classes that are larger in number than our first grade classes, and that's where you see the enrollment trends that we've talked about over the years. But while we are projected to slow and have even a little bit of a decline in enrollment over the next several years, we do have areas within our district that are going to be getting bigger that we've got to address. So let's get into addressing some of those areas. So you've got packets, and what we've done is we've created in those packets two separate paperclip things. We wanted to try to avoid staples for you tonight to make this a little bit more user-friendly. You've got a map, and then you have a corresponding demographic sheet that is labeled and matches that map. And if we can stay in order, you're going to be fine. If you drop them, it's okay, because they're all labeled, and the labels on the maps match the labels on the demographic charts. And just raise your hand or something, and I have dropped them several times. I've done this, so. But you do have those maps, and what we're going to do is we'll present each of the projects and then allow for questions and comments as we work each one. You guys all know Rocky Gardner from Templeton. Rocky is here, and that's why you have the go-to meeting. If you want to manipulate any maps in some greater detail, ask a question in a map that is more granular than what we can provide you on a piece of paper, Rocky is here to be able to do that. And he's also just taking a lot of notes, because I'm sure he and I are going to be getting together shortly after this to keep going. So the first of the four projects we're going to talk about this evening is the retirement of Hedrick Elementary School. And the opportunities to utilize existing space at our adjacent elementary schools. You did, as you know, approve the 10-classroom addition at Vickery Elementary School, which is slated to, I guess, we'll start moving dirt around in the next couple of months on that deal. But those rooms are scheduled to be ready for next year. We've had three options that you're going to be looking at tonight: option 1, option 2, and option 3. We didn't give them fancy titles. We just tried to keep it simple. And then for each of those options, we'll talk about transportation, programming, and grandfathering situations with each of those three. So I'm going to ask you now to refer to your maps and your demographic charts. And as you look at option 1, as you're looking at the bright red lines, those are our existing boundaries. So you can see the bright red line in Hedrick option 1 right in the middle of the map, where Hedrick Middle School, or Hedrick Elementary School, is. That has now been broken up and taken into the existing adjacent boundary zones. And you can see where we've pulled in from several of our other campuses to bring that in and make that a part of what we're doing. And then you've got the associated option 1 demographic information. We do have that for you here, and you can see current enrollments And then it's easier for you to see on your page future enrollments. You'll notice on your page that the bilingual students from DeGan Elementary School are currently at DeGan, and they're going to continue to be zoned over to Prairie Trail Elementary School, just as we're doing now with our DeGan students.
Where is current enrollment?
Current enrollment is on the slide right here, 607,
Oh, okay.
498, 691, and 478.
Dr. Coburn, please explain that again about Prairie Trail. I'm sorry.
So we don't have a bilingual program at DeGan.
Right.
So the bilingual students from DeGan will need to have a new home where they can go. And that home,
You mean
based on,
From
Hedrick?
Hedrick.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry, yes,
I thought, what?
sorry.
That's very confusing.
It all makes sense to me, yeah. From Hedrick, they still need a home. That home cannot be DeGan because we do not have a bilingual program at DeGan. So we would use existing space in our bilingual program at Prairie Trail
Thank you.
to be able to
So there are
accommodate.
students currently going to Hedrick that aren't actually in the zone
Correct.
of Hedrick. And so when you create these new boundaries, you've got to send those bilingual students somewhere, and that would be Prairie Trail.
Correct. We got 100 students in that.
Thank you.
And in this map, you would have some of them going to their new home campuses that have bilingual programs. Vickery is a campus with a bilingual program, and some would have to find a campus home with a bilingual program, and that's where we would use our existing capacity in the bilingual program at Prairie Trail.
Isn't that closer and kids to go to Prairie Trail than for the DeGan kids?
It's pretty close.
Probably about the same.
Yeah, it's pretty close. And when we have bilingual students, we bus any of our bilingual students that are outside of their zoned attendance zone for that bilingual program. So
Why
that
don't-
bus transportation.
Why
will be
don't we
available.
try to get through the three options?
Yeah.
Sure.
And then we have a break to where questions about the new three.
Sure.
I do have one quick question that I think
Sure.
just about the map itself. Is the light blue, is that Parkway
Yes, ma'am.
Elementary? Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. The light blue is Parkway. And fortunately, these colors don't change map to map. So as you look at them, it should start to make a little more sense. If you'll look at option 2, you'll see it's very similar to option 1. And if you look at your demographic information, and if you want to do a side-by-side between Hedrick option 1 and Hedrick option 2, you'll see that the numbers are almost identical. What we've done there is we've used a different portion to pull into DeGan, to expand DeGan's attendance zone from current Vickery. So you can just, if you compare option 1 and option 2 side by side, you'll just see that you're taking one and moving it another, and you're basically trading proximity for proximity. You're getting a group closer to DeGan, but you're having to pull from an existing attendance zone in Vickery with that option. But demographically, in terms of population on the campuses, almost exactly the same. Okay? And then option 3, you'll see where DeGan's attendance zone is not impacted in option 3, and instead, and you'll also notice the Parkway attendance zone is the same in all 3 of these options, and really that became about maximizing the space that we had available at Parkway while using neighborhoods that make sense in terms of where streets exit out to, ease of access to get to your resident school. Option 3 is one where we use existing space in adjacent campuses. We do not affect the attendance zone at DeGan. And then you see in your demographic sheet what that does to the demographics at each of those 3 schools. That is also one in which students are able to go to their home attendance zone in terms of that bilingual program that we were talking about, because we haven't changed what happens with DeGan.
Well,
I
I would,
do want to talk about
yeah.
transportation here. In option 1 and option 2, there would be hazardous route designations. You'd be crossing 1171 there. We would have to create, we believe, 3 new routes to take care of those students in option 1 and option 2. $40,000 to $50,000 per route is an annual cost when you're talking about mileage, driver, bus, all of those things all in. Micah Brassfield told me about 45 is a pretty good guess. Option 3 would not impact the number of routes based on our current hazardous routes designations. We would not have to have any sort of an impact of transportation costs there. However, I do want to point out, we do believe that Parkway is going to have the possibility for a couple of hazardous routes to some of that northern part of Parkway's attendance zone, north of Bel Air. We think that that's going to meet a hazardous route designation, but that's something that is, we really believe it's just going to be a part of what we're going to need to do.
Outside of this recommendation?
No, that's actually, because that's, if you'll look at those maps on the Parkway attendance zone, you'll see an area north of Bel Air. And we believe there'll be hazardous route designation involved there based on the qualifications.
So, Mr. Miller, you asked about a recommendation. What I would tell you is that there's pros and cons to every plan, but I would recommend option 1, and here's why. Option 1 affects 3 schools, and it only affects the kids of the school that we are retiring, versus option 2, you're moving some kids from Vickery to make it closer to DeGan, and option 3, you're splitting the current Vickery plan and sending some of those students closer to the school, to Forest Vista. And to me, except for the negative of having to transport those kids across 1171, I think option 1 is the cleanest of the 3.
Certainly, Mr. Miller, if you look at the maps side by side, I think Dr. Rogers is exactly right. There's only one that does not impact an existing elementary attendance zone, and that would be Vickery. So there's only one map that doesn't affect any of the children that currently go to Vickery would be able to continue to go to Vickery, and that's option 1.
But the issue, no, DeGan kids are crossing 1171 today.
No.
No, their current boundary is 11, the south boundary is 1171, the red line.
Okay, so let's see. Where are DeGan dual language kids going? Prairie Trail?
In option 1, yes, or Prairie Trail. And you can see if you look at your,
Prairie Trail's
Up north.
up north here.
If
So
you'll-
it's
yeah, and that's why we added Prairie Trail. Prairie Trail does not appear on your map. Yeah, it's right. It's right about where Ms. Sells is pointing right there.
right, but so that's my point. The DeGan kids that go to Prairie Trail are not crossing 1171.
Correct.
And with option 1, they would be crossing 1171. Right.
That,
So
that is correct.
that has nothing to do with dual language.
No,
Got it.
that's just an attendance boundary.
Are you ready for questions, Dr.
We're
Coburn?
ready.
All right, Ms. Hassett, you're up.
What about after-school programs for the students who are now being bused across Main Street? It's not a safe place for students to be crossing. What would happen to after-school needs?
The programs wouldn't change. We made the commitment with the bond that with the retiring of Hedrick Elementary School, that those program access would not change for any of those students, and that wherever our existing Hedrick Elementary School boundary students land, they will land with those programs and those supports in place. Many of our after-school programs, we do provide transportation. We do have students that also walk home from after-school programs. So it is certainly a consideration.
Can we also get the City of Lewisville to consider a crossing guard? We have one at Aberdeen on 2499, and there's an occasional child that does cross 2499. It's very, very rare. But can we at least talk to the City of Lewisville to have someone stationed there, even if they're bored the whole time, just to ensure safety of our children?
Matt Garrett and I have already had that conversation.
Sorry, there was two. Sorry.
Ms. Timish? You can come back to Ms. Mills.
I think that was, my questions was, how will that impact times when the kids aren't in school for those activities? Have a number of how many of those kids are in those after-school programs, and I mean, bus service would be provided to these, but I wonder how many would actually utilize that. And I don't know how you would get a number because that's not where they're at.
You're talking, just to give you a point of reference, I can tell you, you're talking about right at 100 children in each one of those, in option 1 and option 2, where you've got the two squares that are almost identical. You're talking about 100 elementary age children in each one of those.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
No.
Mr. Miller?
A bit difficult to kind of organize thoughts here, but I'll do my best. So option 3 has the least impact on schools.
Option 3?
So
I thought it was option.
we've got these right here, right?
Mhm. Yes, sir.
And so this is 30% of economically disadvantaged kids, okay? In each of the other ones, we show that bilingual students that would move from Dan to Parkway.
Mhm.
Okay? This
Correct.
other doesn't show any of
Prairie
those
Trail.
school movements. Option 3 doesn't seem to show any major school movement. For example, option 1 says take the GAN kids to, or take kids that would have, I guess, been a zone for Lewisville or someplace, over to the GAN and across 1171. Currently, 54 bilingual students from DeGan are zoned for Parkway.
And I need to apologize for that. That should say Prairie Trail, and I only read this thing about 3 dozen times, and that should read Prairie
Right,
Trail.
So
Not
Prairie
Parkway.
Trail,
Yes.
Where should we?
Where's the?
Where it says move,
Demographic sheet, option 1, option 2. I'm
Yes.
terribly sorry.
So that's, so
54
it's not
to
Prairie,
Prairie Trail.
54 to Prairie Trail.
Prairie Trail,
Parkway.
not Parkway.
right, and so they've got a dual language program.
Yes, sir.
That makes
Where?
sense.
where is,
But they're,
oh, to, the
where are those
line at the
students coming
bottom.
from? Because that
That
doesn't
should be
cross
Prairie
1171,
Correct.
right? That school's back there, Lamar, somewhere, Prairie Trail, right? It's Lamar, feeds into Lamar, right? Prairie Trail?
Yes.
So, just from a safety perspective, that's a safer route. I don't know about the logistics and the academic and stuff here, but that's a safer route than taking a group of kids off option 1 over here near Lewisville Elementary and across 1171. I'm just trying to get to really understand, fully vet out the reason we would do this, because there is some history here, and I'm not going to go through all of it, but there's some history of buses crossing major roads. And I think we don't, I don't want to go into a lot of it tonight, but I don't think we want to ignore it, and I think we need to understand it, right? And maybe address, do you know where I'm going, Dr. Rogers? Because I think you know. No. So I'm going, for example, there were major issues of taking kids from Copper Canyon to Downey Middle School. I mean, all hell broke loose. There was one reason for that, crossing 407. One reason, crossing 407, and why that died. And so what I want to keep from happening, I want to have a good way to be able to articulate this, to address those historical issues. It was the same reason we did some of the things in Double Oak, right? And why they went to Farmont Elementary. And so it just seems to me that I'm trying to understand, right, why we would have kids go, unless you can say there's some academic reason here, whatever, why they would go from here to DeGan versus. Make sense?
Sure. Yeah, I can help you with that a little bit as you look at the map, and I'm going to go back to I'm going to look at the option 1 map.
Okay.
One of the things that Rocky and I explored, along with Dr. Rogers, Dr. Rapp, and several others, is the ability to go in every direction, north, south, east, and west. We've got the Hedrick zone sits right here in the middle. There is no room for us to go east without impacting literally 20 elementary schools. You would have to start shifting everything over. So east became not an option. So you really, once you take that option away, as you look at where we are, and then some of our schools to the west that have some enrollment difficulties where you just start to become somewhat landlocked. And so what we tried to present for you is 3 options that have a minimal impact on the number of campuses that are involved.
That are closest.
Yeah.
The existing Vickery.
To move it to
Move it
Forest Vista.
Forest Vista.
A larger number of kids are displaced.
Right. But you move them out of their feeder pattern.
You move them out of where they've been.
That's right.
Got that. So option 3, material differences between 1 and 2.
The material difference between 1 and 2 is in option
Yellow section.
In option 2, really the only difference is where that little yellow finger goes. One of them has more proximity to DeGan, but affects Vickery's current boundary. The other has less proximity to DeGan, but does not affect Vickery's current boundary. Okay.
Questions, Mr. Miller? Oh, you did? Okay, I'm sorry. Ms. Lasan?
Okay, is that on? Okay, so, Hedrick, how many kids are there now? Top of your head?
Current enrollment Hedrick is
My question.
Yes.
Okay, so if we go with, say, option 1, so I just want to know how many kids are there now, and it looks like if we're going with option 1, we're looking at putting between
546 at Hedrick.
between 3 schools. Okay, 546.
Mm-hmm.
So we're looking at putting them at Parkway, DeGan, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
And a few going to Prairie Trail.
And some to Prairie Trail.
and a few for Prairie Trail. Okay,
For bilingual.
so, okay, is that on this, oh, I see.
Yes, ma'am.
So I guess, and I see this sheet here, but I guess what I'm trying to get at is how,
And this is what the end.
okay. But I guess we're not seeing exactly like how many from Hedrick, or I guess what I'm getting at, like I see what the totals would be, but like I'm trying to figure out how many from Hedrick would be going to Gann, how many from Parkway would be going to, from
Right.
Hedrick would be going to Parkway. You see what I'm saying?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I can give
It's
you.
okay, we don't
No,
have-
you're okay. I can give you those numbers. You're talking about. I'm just having to do math here. Is all. Which is, it's just sometimes a bit
You
of a
need to take off
challenge.
your shoes, Dr. Copeland, we
Math
understand.
is hard for me.
Math is very hard for me.
Dr. Rapp can help.
So you're talking about 120.
Mm-hmm.
These are pretty approximate numbers. 120 to Parkway. I'm sorry, that's already wrong. You're talking about 80 to Parkway.
Okay,
you're talking about 350 to Vickery. You're talking about 80 to Prairie Trail, which
I thought it
leaves
was
me,
54.
which
It's not 54?
It's not 54?
it's 54 new to Prairie Trail, 54 to Prairie Trail, and
It's about 100 in the other.
and
that would
100
go to DeGan.
to DeGan.
Say the first one before the 350.
80 to Parkway, 350 to Vickery, 54 to Prairie Trail, 100 to DeGan.
So the ones to Prairie Trail, are they going to be, do they get transportation up there?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, even though that's their.
Yes, ma'am, because it is not their zoned campus. It
Right.
is, it's a programmatic transfer.
Okay,
Some of them have already been getting transportation to other.
Yes.
So some of them in that area, in the GAN area, in Valley Ridge area, have been getting bused to Hedrick.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
We've had students that have been crossing
Across the
1171
Okay.
because
That's
they
right.
are zoned for DeGan and they've been attending Hedrick.
okay. So I have another one, but I guess we'll wait till another round. Everybody-
Go ahead and ask me.
Go ahead, right?
Go ahead.
Okay, so another question, this has to do with using Forest Vista. So I see that Forest Vista, if we, where'd it go? If we do option 3 and move kids to Forest Vista, the utilization of their campus will still only be at 70%. So what is the utilization of their campus now? Again, off the top of your head.
About 50.
Yeah, little
About
over 50.
50.
Little over 50.
50%.
It's got probably capacity for about 400.
400 more?
Yes.
Because I guess, so that really affects, what I think about this as well is how well we're using our resources. I'm not making a decision, but, Okay. All right, that's all for now.
Ms. Prosnick?
I'm not for moving children out of their feeder pattern. Number one. My question is about those students to Prairie Trail that are coming from Hedrick. Are they also going to be receiving the same services?
Yes, ma'am. We made that commitment and we will honor that commitment.
All I wanted to make sure of.
Like the bilingual students who are from Valley Ridge, bilingual program.
And then my question is regarding the services that the Hedrick offers currently, like communities and schools. What do those schools that are offered in option 1 are offered there as well? Like, do we have communities and schools at all those schools, or do we have the same services at those schools?
Not
We'll let her.
at the moment.
Provide communities and schools.
Other than that, are there other services that we'll have to look into that Hedrick offers that those schools aren't offering? What does that look like?
There will be some change to the Title I funding at those schools. So your Title I money will allow you busing for tutoring, things like that. But outside of communities and schools,
Like the after-school programs
Yes.
we have
Okay.
everywhere. Yeah.
Okay, and so what does that look like, just out of curiosity? So we offer these programs because that's what we've told these children. So then will all the students there then on the campus be able to benefit from all of this?
Absolutely.
Plus. Okay. Does anyone else have
I
any?
just have one more question.
Miller?
What is the capacity at Garden Ridge right now?
We didn't include them in any of there. We've got, I think we're in the low 60s in capacity at Garden Ridge currently.
Mid. What's the percentage though, I think?
Mid-60s. Start to see a couple years. Do something to maximize student attendance.
Well, and the message, overall, Mr. Miller was pretty clear from the majority of the board that they did not want to mix feeder patterns, which is certainly fine with us, and so that's what we sort of structured this on. We certainly agree that there are some future capacity issues at both Forest Vista and Garden Ridge, and certainly have some potential plans to address that. Right now, we're just trying to get through the header.
Yeah, and I agree, but I think, and I know I'm walking on a very fine line here, but when we were asked to make one decision, I don't think if we had visibility into the low utilization of these other campuses, and I get that we have campuses across LSD that actually go into two feeders or single together, and then they come out into two feeders. But you're talking about if there's a plan for this, I sure would like to see that before we kick up dirt on a 10-room campus. Because what we're saying here is that we got two campuses in very close proximity that have low utilization. So
Yeah, and
I don't know how we spend $10 million in one sense before we know that we've got a plan for this.
yeah, and the 10 classroom additions, not 10 million, it's still a lot of money. I think it's 5 point something. But the 10 classroom addition, that ship has sailed. I mean, the board's approved it. Y'all have approved the construction company. I mean, that will be built by the end of this summer. So, I mean, that was something that the board's already discussed, so.
Well, boards are allowed to overturn their own decisions. There's a process. And I'm not suggesting that. I'm suggesting that this is the first time that I'm hearing anyway, unless I just have a bad recollection, that Forest Vista is at 50% and really Garden Ridge is probably at 60%. That's a really low utilization. I mean, that's some miracle worker has to come in and look at how we've got two campuses so close on the verge of some significant financial. Looking at those options right now. I don't know how we can just compartmentalize the building of this 10-room campus.
I totally get your point. All I'm telling you is that information as far as trying to use our current resources versus building a 10 classroom addition, there were options for the board to do either plan, and the board chose to build the 10 classroom addition. I mean, so I get your concerns. With the input from the board of really trying to protect feeder patterns.
Just to clarify, your enrollment sheets there, those do reflect the additional capacity of Vickery.
Timish, you have a question?
Yes, just to if we, on option one, currently, Communities and Schools is not at DeGan, Parkway, or Vickery, correct?
Yes, I'm so sorry.
Communities
that
and
is correct.
schools at
Is
Parkway.
not at DeGan, not at.
Okay, and those would be the three schools, if we chose option one, that would have an opportunity to have Communities and Schools.
Questions? All right, on to the next one. Dr. Philbrook?
Oh, well, I guess I can skip the questions, comments
Well,
slide.
what we do need to get from the board, and this isn't a end all, but we need some input as far as, our plan is to meet with the community, the Hedrick community, and I know you have some potential dates that we've already lined out, and of course, circle back with you as far as getting you to approve the final plan. But I'm wondering if we could maybe, we can put all three to the community. Normally, you put it to the community and ask for their input before there's, but I would prefer that maybe we narrow it down to two, but it's totally y'all's prerogative which way you want to go. You sort of saw last year, and I know y'all had some concerns about too many options for academic calendars. So I'm not for sure that it benefits us to go in front of the community with 3, but we wanted to show you those options. So if you remember, we started out with 15, narrowed it down, I think 6 or 7 that we had, and then, we're here at 3, so.
So let's share our thoughts, or Ms. Timish?
I think for me, looking at it, 1 and 2 are so close that if we were going to go to the community, I would like for them to have 1 and 3 so that there's some difference in what they're looking at.
Sells?
I tend to agree, but I would like in that, if we put it out to survey, really a closer look at, I don't need to know who voted, but I would like to know where the votes are coming from.
Yeah, and that's a great
And I don't
question.
know how we could do that, but I would love to know, especially on 3, that Vickery piece. Going,
Yeah.
that Vickery to Forest Vista, I mean, when we're changing, I don't think an overall is gonna give us a true depiction of really where the community stands as far as it's gonna impact them all differently. So I really need to be, I'm not sure how you do that, because I don't,
Yeah, let me
I
give
don't
you
work on
some,
software surveys. So.
yeah, let me give you some historic. Normally, we do not survey the community on boundary changes. We have a public meeting. We listen to everyone that wants to speak. Board can or can't be there. Normally, some of the board's there, and we take that public input as the, so it's not, and I apologize, I may have clouded the, muddied the waters when I talked to, and compared it to the calendar where we do a survey, but there really isn't an intent to, we'll certainly do what the board wishes to.
However we gain that information, I want it to be, I would prefer that it be down to that nth degree of where we're getting that input from.
In the past, Ms. Sells, speakers at the open meeting have to fill out a card and their address and, what's.
Also verified.
Okay.
Mr. Miller?
Are we required by law to have a public hearing?
No. I'll look to our general counsel, but no. This is certainly within the board's prerogative to make these decisions. It's just been a normal practice, not only from our district, but a lot of school districts, that they allow some public input.
Yeah.
And of course, there'll be an opportunity still for further public input when y'all have it as a discussion item, and then the next month as an action item at a regular board meeting.
So the benefit of a public hearing is that the board can interact with the public. It's my understanding, Mr. Crownover, under the general rules, that the board could have an agenda item, and during that agenda item, speakers could come forward to the board, and because it's a specific item, the board could interact with those speakers.
Not sure that's an appropriate open session topic. We could get into.
All right. I would just say that city councils will do this. They'll have an agenda where they invite people to come speak during that, right? We can get direction from our council on that. My point is, I think it's of value to us to let people come and speak to us and interact with them at discretion, because these are long-term decisions. Now, with all that said, I love to hear stories about Chris Gutierrez and others that will talk about it. Started at this school, started at that school, and they came out of the system pretty healthy. Right? While these are really big decisions today, kids tend to survive these decisions, right? And so I think whichever way we go, we would probably, I would lean towards option 1, which is the recommendation, I guess. The bus route doesn't excite me, but less students are impacted, so that's where I be going, but I would ask that we consider a public venue where people are allowed to interact with us and we don't kind of keep them from us, so to speak.
Yeah, and Mr. Miller, in the past, and I can only speak for LISD, and I've had the dubious honor of having to lead some of these in my previous role. In the past, the board did not interact except after the meeting, certainly, community. But the moderator would continue to ask questions of the person speaking to seek clarity, so it gives the board that clarity. But, we can talk to general counsel. I think, Rocky, you've attended a lot of these types of things in your role. I mean, is that...
Mr. Miller, what would be your option 2? At option 1, what would be your second option?
As my fundamental issue is
Ms. Lasan?
I would also say option 1, because it does seem to disrupt Vickery students the least, and then option 3.
Rosnick?
I'm going to be your outlier. I don't like option 3 at all because it doesn't give a pure feeder pattern, and that is something that I think we have tried very hard to do, is to give a pure feeder pattern to our students. There is great comfort in knowing that you're going to be a future farmer, a future hawk, a future marauder, a future jag. So if I have 2 options, it's option 1 and option 2.
And I keep waffling with the exact same issue. I think that if we put forth 1 and 2, we're going to have infighting with the groups that could be changing, and I don't like our community infighting with each other. That makes me very sad when that happens. So there's not a whole lot of difference between 1 and 2, but the feeder pattern issue with the third one, I mean, part of me would like to see if our community is willing to go to a different feeder pattern, because we know we've heard in the community in the past, and I would like to know what their thought is for the feeder pattern. I keep waffling. I definitely do want the board involved in public meetings, and I'm not afraid of the board discussions. I think those are healthy for the community to hear. 51, 49, 1 and 3.
Good answer. Okay, and my response would be, I'm not sure why we can't just show all 3. I mean, we've been presented all 3. I don't know why our public can't see it too. But my big thing is going to be for these people that don't come to the board meetings, these parents that work at night. I mean, we saw that with the voting of the school, that they have opportunities either at the school or somewhere to be able to voice their opinion. So communication is going to be the key in this, and I would expect that we would present that at the highest level, that we've left no door unopened to say we didn't communicate in some form or fashion for these parents to have an option.
I think that anybody on this board would be happy to have a Saturday meeting if that is what it takes.
And we're certainly open to that.
Else?
Yeah, I think it's a great idea, Saturday meeting, whatever would, I think given the history on this bond issue, I think whatever would be, allow most people to attend. And I think probably does that with close proximity. And I do appreciate Ms. Prosnick's point, and I think we've tried to be sensitive to it. Again, I think there are a lot of folks that have moved around feeder patterns, but let me ask you, are there any other schools, elementary schools across the district that some students may be split off into different middle schools?
Different feeder patterns.
But they're in the
Not-
same
not-
feeder.
different-
Elementary to high school is
Different-
pure.
different-
Correct. Elementary to
Not
high
different-
school is pure.
Yeah, so not to different high schools.
No.
That's right.
No.
We have kept the high school feeder patterns.
Questions? Have your answer?
I think so. I think, we'll provide options 1 and 3. And, but, personally, I tend to agree with Ms. Prosnick. A little concerned about getting people's concerns up about number 3, if that's not what the board has already said they're really not into. But we can see what the input is, and
I don't know that we've ever gotten other than, I mean, I know there was a committee.
there have been
Input from the committee that that's a big issue, teachers, parents, et cetera.
There's just been personal conversations with board members and every
Right.
board member about trying to keep the feeder pure.
Well,
So-
yeah, and I'm just saying, that's a good idea if it makes economic sense, but are we getting anything from the community on that?
Well, I think their input is probably, I don't want to speak for the board, but I think their input's probably based on a pretty good reading from the community that they live in. But anyway, we'll move forward with 1 and 3, and certainly I agree with you, Ms. Cox, that we'll do our utmost best to try to communicate with parents and set up something that there can be. Thank y'all very much. So put those aside, and we're going to move on. We hope it's a little easier one.
Here we go. Mill Street Elementary, and Mill Street's in quotes because that's the best name I have for it because it's on Mill Street. And why we're here with that, as you know, the current boundaries provide some pretty limited enrollment space for College Street Elementary School. Lewisville Elementary School is right now exceeding just barely its optimal capacity, and it is expected to grow. So we would run into a capacity concern in Lewisville Elementary School very soon. Central's up over 900 students and would keep climbing up toward 1,000 very soon if we didn't do something about that. We've got students living in what should be the College Street boundary that are attending Central Elementary School right now.
About 300.
Yeah, I mean, they can literally like throw a rock and hit College Street Elementary School and they go to Central. So this proposed option, and this one shouldn't take quite as much time because there's one option, balances enrollment among Mill Street, Central, and Lewisville Elementary Schools. And really, I think one of the only things that we want to hear about is grandfather options for Central Elementary School students whose boundaries would be changing amidst some of the capacity concerns that we could run into as we do some of our other work over at Central. It's not going to have that capacity for 1,200 students that it currently has. So that'll be the one consideration that will exist. So if you take a look at the map there, I would like to start where the green meets the salmon? Is that, we're going to call it salmon? Okay. You can see that that's where we've taken that finger of Lewisville Elementary School's zone, and we have moved that into Central.
Which green? Which green?
It's
I'm sorry, the brighter green, it's a little bitty where Lewisville Elementary School is there, right where Business 121
Got it.
and 35 meet.
Kelly not mint.
Kelly. That little piece over there, right, by corporate.
Yeah, so there was a little triangle right there that is just to the east of Business 121 and kind of makes a triangle with I-35 Southwest Parkway,
Right.
and Business 121, those children are being bused anyway to Lewisville Elementary because they're crossing Business 121. And in this, we would provide that capacity relief at Lewisville Elementary School by having those children go to Central. I will tell you that we do have kids that cross Business 121 on foot, which concerns all of us. They're not going to cross 35E on foot. So from a student safety perspective, as we were talking about children and major roads, I like that better.
Yeah, it does.
And then if you look up there, you've got the square where the existing College Street boundary is, and then in the purple, and you can see how we've expanded that south of 1171, and far enough south to actually have the Mill Street Elementary School in the Mill Street Elementary School's attendance zone, which is nice. Yeah. But there are some natural streets there with the way that neighborhoods spit out and things down there in that Old Town area, and then with Business 21 being the larger barrier there off to the east. I'll take you to the next slide, and you can see that we have the current enrollments up there, 911, 253, and 747, versus the reside report. And I will tell you, the reside report has more kids in it than the combined number on that elementary enrollment, but that is because we can't use an attend report at College Street because we have kids that
Right.
don't live in the, we have to use a different formula. I couldn't show you an apples to apples comparison there. But you can see there the relative balancing and enrollments among those schools.
Dr. Coleman, could you, don't have a sheet that has that on it.
No, because I asked him to add that this
Okay,
afternoon.
so Central,
Yeah, Central has 911, 253 for College Street, 747 for Lewisville. And then what you'll get is a much more balanced, right at about 700 per school for College Street, Central, and Lewisville. And the nice thing about that balance, too, is that balance, based on our long-term projection, should exist for a very long time. So this should not be something that we anticipate having to look at again for a very long time.
Yeah, and let me say something about the capacity of Central. When you look at the capacity and it's 1,200, if you're, and I know all of you have been in Central numerous times, the older section of Central, the original part of Central, that is part of the renovation as part of the 2017 bond, and so we won't renovate that. And we haven't decided, haven't brought it to you yet, but the expectation is to renovate the older part to take over some of where Purnell, special needs staff of Purnell will office in that part of the building.
At Central?
At Central, the older part of Central after it's renovated. They'll move to College Street, that's renovated. Once it's vacated, most of the and then we'll use part of that building, the older part, for the itinerant staff, special ed staff to office out of.
Okay,
So-
just for staff. Okay,
That's
I'm
right.
sorry, that's
Yeah,
why I was
for
getting
staff.
confused. I'm
That's
sorry.
right.
because they added a second wing on at one point years
Yeah,
ago.
yeah,
bigger
a
than
newer
the old
wing.
And another wing.
And
So we'll use the space, it just won't be used as a school. Okay? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Sorry.
And so quickly on transportation, we touched on the transportation to Lewisville Elementary. No change there, even though we've changed the boundary. Those kiddos are riding a bus either way. There are about 90 students that live north of Maine who currently do not qualify for ridership to College Street Elementary School, but we do believe that that would be a hazardous route designation, even if inside the 2 miles, and they would qualify for ridership to Mill Street. So that would be 2 bus routes in order to make that happen. But I mean, that's part of when you have a boundary, as we discussed earlier, you have a boundary that crosses major roads, you're going to have some of that. We've got that in a couple places over on the east side.
Could you
as well.
slow down and say that again?
Sure.
So,
We've got some students, just take 1171 there in Old Town, Main Street. We have some students that live north of there who will now have to cross 1171 in order to get to the new Mill Street, which is being constructed south of 1171. Those children will now be eligible to ride a bus under a hazardous route provision. That's about 90 students. So that's 2 bus routes. The kiddos that lived really close to the current College Street are the ones we're really talking about.
Yeah. And are going to College Street. 'Cause
And are
a number
going-
of those kids, you
Yes.
said,
Right.
were College Street kids, but they're going to Central.
Yeah, these are the ones that lived in College Street zone and attended College Street Elementary School that now will be eligible riders on a bus to Mill Street, and that's about 90
So if
kids.
you live up on the lake, you're either going to College Street today, but it's full, or it's
Well, according to,
in this.
according to your needs too, as far as are you an English language
Oh,
one, then you're
okay.
definitely going to Central,
Yeah.
have bilingual College Street, because they don't have the space.
Right. But all those kiddos were riding the bus either way.
Yeah, exactly. It just seems to be,
Yeah.
when you see it on a map,
Yeah,
it's a big geographic area, like,
Yeah.
that covers a couple golf courses and
Corwin.
Trinity and.
a lot of water.
Corwin.
Yeah.
A lot of water. Of our mermaid students.
Dr. Coburn?
No, just your questions and comments on that.
Ms. Sells?
Do you have, bus route, those kiddos? I would love to see those. I think we hear in the community a lot about our central kids, and how, I'd like to see how these changes would impact that, either lessen it or, we're not looking at an extension. I'm hoping that we can do a, more efficient look at that and those kiddos down to ridership that's.
Sure. We would have to, I can talk with Micah. I'm not sure we can do that without building routes, but I bet she's got some sort of way that she can at least provide. In fact, one of the later boundaries we're going to talk about, we do talk about length of route a little bit. We do believe in, just based on anecdotal conversations with Ms. Brassfield, this is going to ultimately come out in the wash a little bit. You'll have some students that will take a shorter ride, some students that will take a little longer ride.
But none of those rides are
Yeah.
anything like some of what
No.
some of our students in the other parts of our district take. I mean, as far as length.
Yeah.
Mr. Miller?
So, just one hazardous route here.
No, we believe it'll be 2.
Two.
90 students will be 2 buses.
Oh, because it's 2 students?
Yes, sir.
But probably from the same area.
Yeah, the route, the buses might be waving at one another from time to time.
And I apologize, on the previous recommendation on option 1, the 2 bus routes that were hazardous were one crossing 1171 for kids to go to the GAN, and what was the other one?
Actually, I back that. That was 3 routes.
3?
That was three routes, all for that same area.
Yeah.
So it's just really, it's the same route, it's just a population of students there. Not like we're running across 1171 and then we're running across Morris or 40.
More than anything, Mr. Miller, it's a product of how many children you can get on the bus.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Mrs. Vaughn?
Okay, so my question is, it has to do with this little triangle here by Lewisville Elementary.
Mhm.
You had it up a second ago, Rocky. Removing central, so a little bit of central, is that so to relieve a little bit of the
Yep.
population at Lewisville?
Yes, ma'am. We would be moving that area there, that
some
Southwest
apartments there or
Parkway.
something?
Yeah, it's a very dense apartment, couple of apartment complexes there,
Okay.
pretty densely populated.
Is that what the triangles are in the map? Okay. So that doesn't, so that's what you were just saying, that it doesn't concern you as much, of them crossing I-35 as opposed, because they'll all be bused, right?
Yes, ma'am. They are all
Okay.
currently bused.
They're all
However,
bused.
some of them choose to walk because it's a walkable, I think I just invented a word. It's an achievable walk from there.
I see, across 120.
So some of them are crossing Business 121
Oh, I see.
right there.
I know where you're talking
right there by the Whataburger. If you ever go to get a
Yes.
taquito early in the morning, you'll see a lot of students from
I
those
know what you're
schools.
talking about.
And unfortunately, you know what they do is sometimes they'll wait for their bus and they'll go over there, and then they'll try to run back over when the bus comes.
So they need to have a bus stop at Whataburger is what you're saying? Okay,
It's a different meeting, I think.
right, okay, so is that all we need to, because I know we were pretty worried about Lewisville's population, so
It's dense enough, that will take care of
that
it.
will
Long term,
take care of it?
will not be a problem.
Okay. I guess that's all I have then.
Rosalind?
And I apologize for not asking this on the last one. What is right now our timeline to bring this before the board for a vote?
November?
Yes, sir. We were looking October discussion, November action.
I just want to make sure that public has plenty of time, once the decision's made, that there's plenty of time to discuss the grandfather clauses and I mean, so that parents have options in time. No, other than that, that's my question, so.
So, Ms. Prodnick, our goal has always been to make sure we ask the board to approve it, communicate out, have, meetings with, current Hedrick staff and try to have all this settled where everyone knows before they leave for winter break. So our spring to.
That's it. This is really a question more for Rocky. For the current, or the new central zone, old central zone, what areas are developable? Now I'm making up words. That could impact future attendance zones for central. Are there anything currently in there?
Right now, we believe we've left in that central zone.
Not even for a possible change in having apartments?
Well, there's always tear down.
So nothing long-term will shift?
No, in fact, if there is any growth, it'll be that area that we would have moved at this point from Lewisville to
Right.
Central is where that growth would be.
There's more room for apartments over there?
That's the only place where there's any room to make anything happen. And we're basically at zero in the rest of that zone as we sit today.
The good thing is, there's still some capacity at all three to absorb some growth, which is what we wanted. We don't want to ask you to redraw some
Right.
lines in there, right at their, and remember, not only do we talk about capacity, but we aim for optimal capacity, which is 90% of capacity, so
That was
we feel
kind of the
good
point,
that there's enough space.
One more question. College Street and Lewisville Elementary, or do either one of them have CIS currently? Central has CIS. Does Lewisville have CIS?
Central does.
So some of the children who will be moving from Central could lose CIS?
That's correct.
So you said we were going to be discussing the grandfather clause. Is that going to be the second part?
It's an opportunity really to just kind of get your feedback even now about if that is an option that the board would want to consider. I know from talking to Dr. Rogers, general practice has been to try to allow that to happen when we can. It typically does not come with things like transportation. It's treated like a transfer, but it's kind of like a guaranteed transfer.
So most of the board has not been through this, so let's make sure. Grandfather clause just means that, let's say you agree with this option, and kids that are currently at Central, maybe there's a fourth grader, they would be allowed to stay. So normally you're not going to reach your sort of targets as far as enrollment first year or two, because people want to stay for that last year, which totally makes sense. And there's grandfathers accepted for siblings. Let's say you had a fourth grader and they want to stay, but they also have a second, so you have to allow some grandfather. So the question though, and this has always been the practice, not only of us, but most, is We'll allow you to grandfather, absolutely, but we do not provide transportation for those that choose to stay at their old school instead of going to their new school. So that's the input that he'd like to have.
The other, the unique situation with Central is what Dr. Rogers hit on earlier. While it shows a very healthy capacity right now, there are opportunities for that capacity to go down. And so we may, depending on the number of students that would want to take advantage of a grandfathering clause, instead of going to the brand new elementary school, which I'm not so sure how high that number is going to be, that we may run into a capacity issue. So we would have to just be aware of where we were with grandfathering and how many would want to take advantage of something like that. We'd have to monitor it pretty closely to make sure that we didn't create a scenario by which we've exceeded our optimal capacity.
And I understand that. I just didn't know if you wanted us to provide our
Yeah,
thoughts on the
absolutely.
grandfather. The question would be, if you're grandfathered, which we actually have had the opportunity to go through with personally, not as a trustee, but are the fifth graders provided transportation? If I'm in, my child's in fourth grade now, and I'm guaranteed fifth grade at Central, will there be a bus for my fifth grader?
The practice in the past has been no.
So if I choose to,
If you choose to stay at the school that you're no longer supposed to be at, we'll allow you to stay, but you have to provide your own transportation. Practice in the past.
okay, and
I
then,
mean, I'm not saying it has to be the practice in the future, but it would be difficult if we want to start transportation for people that are opting not to move.
Do we only
And so-
grandfather for fourth grade?
well, that's,
I'm sorry.
Or siblings, you know, I mean, like that fourth grader, yeah, I think it is. I don't have it in front of me, but, do you have that, Joe? She asked a question about do we only grandfather for fourth grade?
I mean, I understand the
We-
sibling portion.
Yeah,
but
we,
this,
I mean,
typically, from what
it's-
we've done at
yeah,
our
it's-
schools, is you do allow siblings.
2 years at most schools plus siblings is pretty standard fare at every level, you know.
So a third grader could be, is my question, a third grader could be grandfathered.
No, it's my understanding that if you've got a fourth grader and a third grader, they could be,
Right. No, you just said 2 years. You said 2 years, and that's where I went down that
Because
road.
you're
grade,
coming
fifth grade.
into the fourth grade, so that's the
Okay.
fourth and fifth would be the 2 years.
Traditionally, going into third grade would not be eligible.
But the
for
current
grandfathering.
but current third graders would.
Yes, ma'am.
Sorry, I'm just being really difficult.
no, so,
Going down my rabbit hole.
do you want us to continue to ask questions, or just want to go? Okay, so, if you have a fourth or fifth grade, or third or fourth grader, and then you have siblings, so I think it would help if we knew what the current practice was, because it's my understanding that some of the grandfathering that we've historically done is even if a sibling's has moved out, but the sibling went there, that we've allowed people to do that. And so I'd like to just maybe have a clarification of where we are, because I've heard of different things. I just want to make sure we're not creating more headaches.
I will tell you historically, Ms. Timish, that has not been the practice. I will tell you probably there was one time that the board chose to make an exception to that, and that was their decision, but that has not been the normal practice. I mean, as far as siblings, if you certainly don't want to split siblings up at 2 different elementary schools, nor would we want to, but it would not make sense for sibling that's already out of that school, then the younger sibling get to stay because their older sibling went to it. That's not been our norm.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, I appreciate that.
Two, you know, our new, with our transfer policy as it exists now and our fall transfer window that we've done, you know, pre-staffing, we've really done a good job, I feel like, of creating opportunities for people to choose a campus anyway. So I think it would be very rare that we wouldn't be able to capture students that wanted to get in on a transfer somewhere through our normal process, which really is set up now for families to be pretty successful in being able to have some choice.
So if we're providing input, I don't have a problem with the grandfather clause. I would just really, really want it to be clearly laid out that they understand no transportation and no transportation, even if you have. So I don't want there to be an expectation, and in the summer now we've got upset parents because They thought even though I was guaranteed a spot, in my mind, that guarantees me a bus spot too.
Discussion came was, there was belief in the community that when you had that fifth grader and he was grandfathered in, but you still had a little bit at home that wasn't quite in kindergarten, that they were going to be allowed that. And so it would be for only existing students currently enrolled.
That's correct.
Is that correct?
That's correct. And the whole intent is really pretty simple. We wouldn't want a parent to take two elementary students to two different schools. That's the intent behind the rule.
I'm sorry, I thought you
Real
just,
quickly, there is communities and schools that Lewisville Elementary.
I thought that.
Thank you.
but I've heard two different things here. If there's not get transportation if he's grandfathered. Third grader is not the kid going into kindergarten is not grandfathered in, or a second grader.
No, she explained that the kid wasn't in school yet. They wouldn't be.
Not in school
But,
yet.
but if they're,
That
if they're
ends.
in kindergarten or
That
they're,
ends.
they would be
Got it.
grandfathered. So
Even
we
if
don't
they
want
have
parents
younger
to send them to
siblings.
two.
Right. So this reverts to the transfer policy by kind of from a governance perspective, except for if, little bit wasn't in school, right? Then, otherwise you can be grandfathered in. It's just that you're like a transfer and you have to drive to school.
That's absolutely right.
And the more robust your transfer policy is, the less important grandfathering becomes.
I think that's right.
My question is, kind of to piggyback off Ms. Timish, is, so would the board, I guess it's for you, Dr. Rogers, so when the board decides on the boundaries, would we be voting on the grandfather clause as well, or how would that work?
I guess maybe before we move to the next topic, I'd just like to sort of get an indication from the board. My expectation was not to change the grandfather practice that we've had, but certainly the board has a prerogative to do that. But you've heard us explain how it's worked in the past and what the intent was. But we needed to bring it up because, there will be some kids that want to stay and yet they're going to expect transportation. Our practice has not been to do that, but we just need to make sure y'all are comfortable with that.
Do we not have a board policy on this?
I think we have an administrative practice, not a board policy.
Would it behoove us to make a board policy?
I don't want to defer to our general counsel, but I will tell you, TASB in general says don't make board policies out of everything. So, that's just my general, I'm fine either way because, but,
I would, are we going in sequence here?
It's Mr. Miller's up next.
Mr. Miller?
Okay, great,
Sure.
thank you.
I'm sorry.
Thank you, Ms. Tim.
Sorry.
I would offer that, in the grandfathering, I like what we do with transfers. That, a little bit can go to the school. The reason being is that, and I think I see a lot of teachers. And so here's what you get, and all of us here are parents, and we've experienced it. You know what? Hey, did you get Mr. So-and-so in fourth grade? I hope Tristan gets him in fourth grade, or her, right? Or the kindergarten teacher. That was a big one for us, right? And so, and Miss Nuri's back there, and I'm sure I'm forgetting a bunch more. But, we want to get to see if it becomes a familiarity with the school. Mom or dad is on the PTA, and then if there's a 3 or 4 year gap, and then all of a sudden they got to go reintegrate into a culture, to new campus, because little bit comes along and they're in kindergarten. There's I think some value in allowing for that family to let their kids go to that elementary school should they decide to stay there. Just my thoughts.
Ms. Lasan?
I think grandfathering is a good thing. So I guess one small follow-up question. So the fifth grader and third grader, but the third grader gets to continue on till he or she.
Absolutely.
Okay. So my only concern about the grandfathering with this particular population of kids that we're moving is, well, I guess it won't, is the socioeconomic status of some of them, you know? That's the only concern that I would have is if we're not providing busing. Let's say one wants to stay wherever they are. That would be my only concern. And it would maybe only be for like a year, I'm guessing, because maybe we would only offer it to fourth graders. I don't know. And again, not looking at bus routes and knowing it may not affect anybody, but that's because I know we're dealing with, that would be my only concern.
And I don't have the exact number of bus routes, but, you know, Central is also a very, a community school. I mean, there's a lot of
Yes.
kids that live right around there. And of course, the nice thing, not real efficient thing, but the nice thing is that the new elementary on Mill Street is not that far. I mean,
Right.
so
Sure.
a lot of those kids are still gonna be right in the community, walk to school because they live right there. So,
I'm all about walking to school.
yeah.
Just if I can clarify, so in grandfathering, so you got a third and a fifth grader, they get to stay together.
The 4-year-old?
I'm sorry, the 4-year-old, so, I'm
Lost
sorry.
me. No, I know, I
You
got
you-
that,
okay,
yeah.
all right.
No, I got that.
Well, okay, the fifth grader leaves to go to middle school. Now the third grader's a fourth grader or a fifth grader, and the 4-year-old's now in pre-K or kindergarten. They'll get to still stay in that school because we're not going to send parents to elementary kids to two different elementary schools. Does that make sense?
And you're still going to use reasonable transfer policies anyway,
Yes.
so that in the
Yeah.
event that an administrative rule like this said that, let's not go with a 4-year-old, let's go with a 3-year-old. 3-year-old, other two kids are out, hey, I really want them to go because I want Mrs. Jones to be the science teacher. If they fit within the rules of transfer.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And it's one of the reasons that the siblings, our own transfer policy is really designed at not splitting families up, doing everything that we can. Our students that go on program transfers to Spanish immersion programs or dual language programs, we do everything we can to create conditions to never have to split a family up, because it's important.
I'm good.
Ms. President?
Kind of like what we talked about earlier, as long as we communicate, and then communicate some more about what that grandfather clause is and what it looks like. And I'm also assuming if we'll be deciding in November, that would also give all those families that opportunity to take advantage of our transfer policy to anywhere in the great Lewisville ISD school district
That is the goal.
that has capacity.
We, the November board meeting will fall right in the middle of the fall transfer window, so there will be ample opportunity for people to have all the facts and also be able to make a transfer decision.
Thank you.
Ms. Hassett?
I agree. I like the idea of the transfer, of the grandfathering, for sure. I understand how it would be very difficult to provide busing to a lot of these areas. I had another strange question. What about students currently in charter schools that aren't in there? Are they going to be allowed to be in do you have to be in the district? What about you live in the zone and you're a current third grader, you're transferring from a charter school back into the district? Do you get to use the grandfather clause, or do you have to be currently enrolled in that school?
Well, if you approve the boundaries, and the start of next year, and that charter school kid decides to come back, then it's gonna be based on where they live, according to the new boundaries.
So they don't get grandfathered?
No, there's no
That-
grandfather if
that
you're
makes
not
sense
in
to
the
me.
school.
I agree. I just wanted,
Yeah.
because we have a lot of transferring back into the district around January.
Yeah.
And so I was wondering if any of those children who transferred back in January, so they'll be currently enrolled, so they would actually get to be grandfathered if they're currently enrolled for the next year then?
That's correct.
Okay.
You're
Just
right, that
curious.
was a very interesting question.
Ms. Timish?
I think for me, it's just, I would like to see a clean break, just because if we start provide, I don't want to provide buses. It needs to be on their own. I like what our policy is, because I think if once we start and somebody has 5 kids, then we're gonna be continually providing buses. So I'd like to just have a clean break if you want to stay.
And all my points have been mentioned by my fellow board members, so.
Okay.
We're halfway
Moving right
home.
along.
Well, but we've talked about grandfathering, so I think this one may go a little quicker, maybe. Bridlewood and Flower Mound Elementary School, and you'll recall, we talked about this a while back. This is really about reducing some travel distance for Flower Mound Elementary School families. It's about balancing some enrollment issues. It's about creating some more natural boundaries with some of our neighborhoods and streets and subdivisions with those 2 schools. The grandfather option, we can certainly have another robust conversation about it, but I think it would be the same conversation we just had. But I'm more than happy to answer any questions about grandfather options. If you'll look, go ahead and actually, before you look at that, I do want to go again to this future lots, and this is the exact same map that I showed you earlier. I told you we were gonna circle back to it, and we are circling back to it because you will see that one of the subdivisions in here, Bradford Park, which if you can read that up there, your eyes are better than mine. But Bradford Park,
It's in the yellow, up on the left, middle.
so.
Where the blue is.
White
So,
writing. Got it.
Flower Mound Elementary's current zone is as far west as it can go. So it looks like it runs into the ocean in this map, but it just runs into another school district. But it goes pretty far to the west, and Bradford Park is right in the current Flower Mound Elementary zone feeder. And we tell you that because if you look at feeder growth within Marcus High School, and this is a preview of something you're going to get in your next quarterly update, which you're going to get from me this week. Now it's on the record that you're going to get that from me this week. You can see Flower Mound Elementary is going to grow. And it's going to grow as a result of Bradford Park. And you can see Bridlewood, it's got a little bit of growth in there also. But we think that there could even be some more growth because of Bradford Park, even out beyond what you see here. I mean, we're always thinking ahead, even beyond what's on this map right here. So if you look at your first map for Bridlewood Flower Mound, you will see that map draws in some of the western edge of the current Flower Mound Elementary zone and brings it in with the Tanglewood subdivision being the dividing line, splitting that cross timber subdivision. It doesn't. Where it makes sense is in how neighborhoods disperse onto major roads. That is kind of where some of those lines meet. And if you look at the demographic sheet up there on option 1, you'll see 60% utilization at Bridlewood with an enrollment of 481 and 72% utilization at Flower Mound with an enrollment of 413. You see those current enrollments are up on the big board up there at 396 and 489. That's where we currently sit at Bridlewood and Flower Mound. Yes, there is a difference in the sum of the top numbers and the bottom numbers by 8 students because we're using projected numbers on one and actual numbers on the other. So that's a plug for Rocky there. Out of 880 kids, we were off by 8. So it's not too bad. And then if you look at option 2, we have taken that boundary and moved it a little bit farther to the east. So Flower Mound Elementary's attendance zone got a little bit smaller again. You'll see, certainly there's a little bit more definite boundary there with Chin Chapel. I'm looking at that as a dividing line. So, and then you look at the enrollments there. What we've done in this case is we've captured a little bit more for Bridlewood, about 50 kids total, and we've reduced the enrollment at Flower Mound a little bit, but it does allow for a little bit more growth that we talked about earlier at Flower Mound Elementary School that we see happening long term. Now, here's some good news on transportation. You asked about length of routes earlier. There is no change to number of eligible riders. Kiddos that were eligible to ride buses to Flower Mound are now going to be eligible to ride buses to Bridlewood. There would be route adjustments. We do believe that the total number of miles driven would go down with either one of these scenarios. So there you go.
Well, and I'm going to jump in because I'm going to tell you my concern about option 2, and that is, you know, one of the reasons why we wanted to look at this option are really 2 reasons. One, Bridlewood's extremely small, you know, that area's aged out. 2, some projected growth in the Flower Mound Elementary zone, but option 2 just flip-flops, and now we have an extremely small school. It's just Flower Mound Elementary instead of Bridlewood, and yeah, it's projected to grow, but I'm very concerned about option 2, that it decreases it too much. So that's my 2 cents worth, which is about what it's.
You ready for questions, Dr. Coburn?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Ms. Lasan.
Oh, I'll get started. So, I've got a couple, but I'll start with one on the map here. So, it looks like, on option 2, because I live near here, it looks like it was trying to include all of Double Oak into one elementary. Is that close to what I'm seeing? Option 2? Was that?
That's close.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well-
so
Not exact,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
close.
well, that's what I mean. It's,
Yeah.
Okay, and so the current capacity of Bridlewood is what? It's probably like 50% or less.
Yeah, Bridlewood's current capacity is 792 students. Current enrollment is 396, so you're right at, you're exactly at half.
Okay, and so, but these projections here for Flower Mound not include, do they or do they not include these subdivisions that are going in
No.
along
They don't.
25?
No.
They don't. So that's kind of the question, is like, we don't know exactly how many kids
They're
are going.
complicated.
We can guess, but,
Right. We're building projections for that.
oh, okay,
But these numbers represent this kind of
okay, all right, well,
With
that
current
answers my question.
But those
Okay.
subdivisions, though, that you're talking about, which street are they on?
It's right off of 2499.
Those, I think,
Yeah,
actually
south
go
of
to,
Waketon.
I was going to say, that's the Waketon, right?
they go to a different, they don't go,
Yes,
Yes.
they will.
they will go.
Yeah, they still do.
They still do.
They won't
Okay.
change.
They're not factored into this, Rocky?
No,
well, because this is in projection.
this is current
Yeah,
students.
this is who you have.
But they are, I'm sorry,
Ms. Lasan, any more questions?
Not at this very moment.
Okay. Rosnick?
but the future projections are reflected in like that,
Yes.
correct? In that feeder growth. Well, you have feeder growth, but I mean, they are projected in like our 10-year and so forth. That Waketon and et cetera, that is projected in there?
Yes.
Okay. I'm struggling with Double Oak. Remind me, Bridlewood goes to Downing. What else goes to Downing? They both go,
Part of Flower Mound, not all of it.
right,
Part of it goes to Flower Mound, part goes to.
Briar Hill. Right.
Lamar, not Briar.
That's the,
Yeah, okay.
I think that,
You meant
Did.
that's what I meant to say.
That's,
Yeah.
I don't know
we
what
knew
came
what
out
you
of
meant.
my mouth, but.
Thank you.
We knew what you meant.
Ms. Prosnick, sorry, any more questions?
No, I'm pondering.
Okay, we can come back to you. Ms. Hassett?
guess I'm pondering too, really for this one, I would really be interested in seeing those lots, because Copper Canyon's just talking about area south of Justin Road. There, it's,
Oh, good, that's an eye chart.
West of
That's an eye
Tanglewood,
chart.
off of Justin Road,
it's south of Justin Road, it'll be to the.
west of Tanglewood.
What? What did you say?
West of Tanglewood, to the east of Rock, Creek.
It'll be right about here.
It's Chin Chapel is what you're talking
It's to the west of Chin Chapel. In that larger area up above, Copper Canyon has been discussing with a developer on some land, but bigger houses, so not a higher yield.
Nothing there's been, you know,
It's not a vacant developed lot at the moment.
it's not in the future. We're west of Chin Chapel there.
Yeah, yeah,
Where's your, yes,
yeah.
yeah, that's
I'm
it,
just-
that's
You're
it.
talking right here,
It's,
right?
and it's actually, I think the farthest one over to the left. The actual square rectangle, yes, I believe, if I had to look, it's probably the one,
It's this right here, right?
over, I think it's, I had to go back and
Yeah.
check.
It's-
I'm just
it's
wondering
west
what
of
other items.
Tanglewood that butts up to the road in Flower Mound there. It's not highlighted here. It's a piece of, and it's 407. It's the Marjorie Vickery property, and it's a Copper Canyon.
Right.
And they're gonna put in high-density homes. It's
No.
the
They've denied that request, so it'll be bigger lots, fewer yield.
Okay, so, but it is west of east of Tanglewood.
There's Tanglewood.
Where's Tanglewood?
You don't see Tanglewood, you see Maple Leaf?
Yes, east of Maple Leaf.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
That Maple Leaf
Right where we-
meets Tanglewood, cross the street, you're in
Yes,
the.
right, Rocky.
See how Rocky's got it? It's perfect.
Yep,
It's
that
right
was,
in.
yeah. I'm just curious about any other properties like that could be rezoned for residential, what it would look like, how it would potentially, that's way in the future, I get that. But if we're gonna redraw lines, I don't wanna do this again in 5 years.
I don't believe that, given capacity, we're gonna do less than 7% capacity.
It's not gonna be.
It's not gonna,
They're not gonna generate much.
that one for sure won't. I totally agree with
There'll be
you.
a lot of students out of, there.
I just don't know, other lots might do. Yes.
That is where we are practicing active development.
No, I concur, for sure. It's just there's still some space that can be developed.
Right. And in one option, it's all going to one school, and in another option,
Right.
it's going
And so
somewhere else.
we're,
That's correct.
all of the items
That's where my
that,
pondering comes.
that are going to be developed really in option one would all be going to Flyman Elementary. And can it sustain that much new growth? And if it does, then are we gonna lopside Bridlewood again to being the much smaller school? Those are my questions and concerns about how they're currently drawn. And I know you don't have a, Ouija
Your
board.
crystal
I think either
Crystal ball.
plan leaves plenty of space for growth, no matter what. Option one or option two, it leaves plenty of space for growth in both.
And Ms. Hassett, if I may, I think it's where, when we talked about Mill Street, Lewisville, and Central, we talked about trying to balance enrollment. This one isn't as much about balancing enrollment as it is about making sure that we've got the kind of enrollment that we need to handle the future growth and also be able to provide as many of the programs and things that we want to provide. So
I concur, that was my concern though too, is I didn't want to, I guess in the option one, we do have more available room at Flower Mound to add all of these potential developments that aren't even
Yes.
seen yet.
yeah, there's,
I just would like to see that on a MAC map, not a other color map.
we don't see in either of these scenarios that even with some of that we would have to be coming back
We don't have to change them again.
and
That's just not a
change
good
them
idea.
again. I mean, as things are currently constructed, we don't see a scenario where that's going to happen.
That's what I'm getting at.
It would have to be far, far from the norm based on these capacities. That's a lot of kids.
Just
especially in that upper, because those are bigger homes, lesser yield. No, I get that. It's just, if they were smaller lot sizes, newer homes, you might get a larger amount of kids than you do with an older flower mound who won't leave. Like that would be me later.
Yeah, they're still kind of.
On that one property, I agree. It's the other properties that we don't know about yet, was my concern.
Across that area right there. I'm thinking if even
That whole area,
whole area.
and then the one that's close to the green, and then we just have a lot of,
Well, there's construction in churches in the first upper right-hand bigger block that all there, so this is.
have to change later. Just curious.
So administration's recommendation is option 1?
Well, that's my recommendation.
No, just asking a question. And then for Rocky, just to clarify with, as we're balancing this, is there a time period where like just areas start to flip again? Is that included? Like we're seeing that, like for example, in Farmers Branch, where it's really flipping with young families. Is there a timeline that's considered with the work that you do?
It's interesting. Wow, the higher the price point for home, the longer it takes for that regeneration. That area right there, regeneration has been kind of slow, but that's why some of this. Now some of that could change.
When we looked at these options for, this is not as pressing. Of course, the first two requests that we put in front of y'all, I mean, Hedrick issue, the elementary on Mill Street, we need to move forward. Certainly, I mean, it's not like we have to do this one this year. It's just something that we had discussed as a group, but it's not a pressing thing like the previous two.
But we would still follow that same process of community input, et cetera, correct?
Right.
I think the only thing that draws my attention, I kind of cringe when I see it, is when we have a street and then we have just a portion of a street that's not included in the same pattern. But when you had the dots, are the dots students?
I agree.
So if I'm looking, it looks like you break up, and not that, living on the same street as someone guarantees you go into the same school, but when we're making decisions like this, I want to make sure that those dots are being considered, and how are we, because there were like 3 dots close together in just the one I was looking at, and it was Valley View Trail, and if you look in option 1, you go down, and then there's just a small portion of Valley View Trail, and depending on where you cut that off, you're dividing students.
I would agree with myself.
Oh,
Close
right
to
there.
the, right above Downing. Valley View Trail, a little to your left, right there.
Where are you referring to?
Trying to figure out if we
It's on
included the
option
students
1
in
map.
that.
It's on the option 1
What
map.
that is a neighborhood cutoff, so.
So is this-
Trail court,
I'll go to.
Is this street that's not labeled, is that high something drive?
Highline?
Here.
Highline?
No, it's,
Is that drive right there?
no,
This
that's,
is talking right
Yes.
here possibly with this boundary.
Yeah, right in there.
yes.
Yes, right,
Yeah,
a
those
little bit
homes
to,
back
a little
up
bit to the.
North.
To the north and,
We intentionally
To
went
the
back
east.
behind the parcel line, so they would not be split when they.
We will do everything we can not to have kids on one side. of the
I just
street.
want to make sure, not being physically there,
How
not
about north
seeing
of that, on
the-
Valley View? The
Yeah.
horizontal,
That's why I added those parcel lines for you guys to see, so you can kind of
trail
see.
court that cuts right into Trail Court Lane.
You can see where the streets are.
Right.
Versus lots, so.
Oh, I see, that goes
You don't
behind
know
the
the
fence
direction
line.
of the elevation of those homes, and
Well, we
that's
do
what
know
my
that,
concern was.
like those 3 students, they're
Get
facing,
note giving.
we
I
do know
asked
there's
earlier
another
if
road,
it's
so
lowering that.
where my cursor is kind of circling right now.
Right.
Those students are all their homes face that.
Colonial.
How about north of that?
And behind them, these guys are part of this, they would not be in this.
Miller, it's just hard to see. on
Yeah,
these,
no,
so I
that's
just
why,
want
that's why we
clarification.
brought him. That's why we did that.
Yeah, so, Dr. Rogers, I appreciate that you like option 2, but I'd like everybody to rethink that you like option 1, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Option
I
two.
just expressed concerns about what happens in option 2 with Flower Mound Elementary. I don't,
Right, the thing is that we're, in this case, we have an opportunity to take Double Oak and parts of Bridlewood and put them into Bridlewood Elementary. That is going to create some agita for Bridlewood, the community. That's one option. The other option that's recommended creates agita for both communities. And option 2 is a natural separation coming down Chin Chapel, because that's Flower Mound on the right, and breaking this off so that Double Oak stays whole. And the number of students you'd be talking about would be immaterial. And then you've got, all, this big part of Bridlewood, you've got these bigger parts here that would fit together. And so I think that what it does is it avoids breaking Double Oak up and breaking Bridlewood up. This is what it would look like. That's a natural separation.
Where?
he's saying option 2, the one that shows Chin Chapel as the boundary.
You're gonna get, because here's what happens. I'll give you an example. Where you cut this off down here on Colonial Court, right? So right behind that is where I used to live. All of the kids' friends are like this. So there's a natural kind of symbiosis that takes place in Double Oak, back and forth, right? The kids walk to Bridlewood, Downing, etc. If you stay with the option that just cuts it off at Chin Chapel, and I'm talking about if you're on the east side of Chin Chapel, you go to, then it's just a very natural cutoff.
I want to throw some in there too, because the part that I was going to wait till I got it back around to me, but it's close enough. So when you go down Chin Chapel and you've got those two courts, Berry Hill Court, you had, I don't like that one side of the road is Flower Mound Elementary and one side of the road is Bridlewood. I mean, if I was going to do this, I would say to have Flower Mound go all the way over to those parcels right there. Right. Because, I mean, that's almost like a little dead end down there anyway.
So the history, that's a great idea.
Because that is
The
Flower
history on
Mound,
that.
that's not Double Oak.
Well, Chapel Court and Berry Hill Court are actually Double Oak. They were annexed into Double Oak about 12 years ago. They annexed themselves in. So where that stop sign is, it's like,
Well,
like
it
you
doesn't
said,
make sense to me to run like two buses down there anyway. Run a bus to Flower Mound and a bus to Bridlewood. Still,
well,
doesn't make sense.
they would be bussed over. They're getting bussed at Farmont anyway. They'd be bussed over here.
Well, anyway, that's my thing. I don't really like that they're, one side of the road is one school, because it's not very many houses. Well, it's not very many kids if the dots are in the.
Do y'all have any other questions? Atlas, Miller, or Lasan? Okay. Ms. Prosnick, did you think of some questions?
No, I have so many. No,
So-
I was just trying to get clarification on where Ms. Lasan was talking about. I'm the directionally challenged
Did you get
trustee,
it?
so
Did you find it?
I found it.
Okay.
So my question is, probably for Rocky, is I don't like to break up subdivisions. We've seen it in other areas, and it doesn't go over very well, and it separates kids in their own neighborhood. So my question is, this Waketon area, is that the full subdivision, or does it actually go over on option 1, where is that subdivision?
Yeah,
Yes, in
far
the pink
right.
area, where it says Waketon Road, that new
Wayton
subdivision.
Road is
that-
the main road that goes in front of Level Up Town Hall. Curves around, goes up to, back of Marcus High School.
But this is the new subdivision Dr. Coburn was talking about, so I want to know what is that subdivision? Can you circle that out on the map?
This one, right, I'm sorry. You talking about this area right
Waketon Road?
No,
here?
to the east of that,
Like over this?
yes.
Okay.
No, east. Are you talking about the one
He's-
off
he's moving it
2499?
right.
Keep going east.
Keep going, you're good.
You like near Pecan?
There you go, in the yellow is what you're
That's it,
asking?
in the
Look on
yellow.
the screen, Ms. Cox, in the yellow?
She's just
Or-
wanting to know in general, is there different developments that are being separated?
I don't believe we are splitting any developments. That one area on Chin Chapel that was in plans two, I guess.
So on option 1, that's not a subdividing a subdivision. Chin Chapel is not. Then on option 2, you've divided at Chin Chapel, that's not breaking up that
In
subdivision?
option two, it might be, I mean, I guess that would be, we define, we use Chin Chapel as the boundary in that case, and so adding those two, like in Plan 2, that Prairie Court and Berry Hill Court that you see
Yeah.
there, they are,
In the same,
If you take those away, you're doing,
You are
it
split.
gets,
Sounds like
Ms.
it.
Cox, it gets you the fidelity you're looking for. That, those homeowners intentionally annexed out of farm.
The ones that are south of Waketon?
So, yeah, no, it's Chin Chapel, south, south of Waketon, right there. It's about 6 houses, actually, Miss Mary.
Every dot is a student.
right now, there's only one student.
20 houses.
See, we're talking about this area right here now?
Yes,
yeah.
on both sides.
Are those elementary
So
students, or those high school
it
students, or are
might
they
be
just students?
pertinent
Those are
to move it in, put those in the same,
Yeah.
you know,
I wouldn't be a proponent of separating a subdivision. I guess that's my response.
that's what that would be doing, yes, I would, that would be easy.
We can.
Yeah.
We could move it real easy.
Any other questions, comments? Okay, Dr. Coburn?
Okay. I think we are ready for Southwest Future Growth, and this is Bluebonnet and Old Settlers. Bluebonnet requires capacity relief, and it will continue to, that's not going to go anywhere. We're going to need capacity relief there. Old Settlers has got room at the end to accommodate that capacity, and they are geographically the closest to one another to make sense for where some of that new future growth is going to happen. And we really are emphasizing future development in both option 1 and option 2. Again, you're back on the grandfather issue, which I think we've covered, and certainly there'll be time to take care of that because we are talking a lot in this one about people that aren't attending school here yet. Take a look at the future feeder growth in the Flower Mound High School pattern. You can see Bluebonnet is the top school there. You know, we're getting near our optimal capacity there now, and we did come in a little under our projection this year, but those projections bring us well over optimal capacity of Bluebonnet Elementary School. And you can see Old Settlers, number one, we're not really growing. We're pretty flat at Old Settlers. And number two, we've got a lot of space where, as it relates to optimal capacity at Old Settlers, it was simply built for more children. So we've created two options for you to take a look at to provide that capacity relief. One of them, option 1.
Joe, let me jump in
Sure.
for a second. You know, board, one of the reasons why we're discussing this is that it's easier to try to determine what the boundaries should be for future growth before there's a lot of people there. And so That was probably one of the better things we did for that area off of Josie before there were any home, it was decided where they would go. And so, the problem is Bluebonnet's not a very big school, and with the growth there, if we don't do something. Remember, even the Facility Advisory Committee discussed the potential 10 classroom addition, but that, didn't move through the FAC as a recommendation, but that was a topic.
Okay, so option one, if you'll look at your map for option one, you can see again the red where the current boundary exists. Bluebonnet's existing boundary does cross 2499 down there south of where the Old Settlers boundary ends. We would, in option one, just extend that and create 2499 as the natural boundary between Bluebonnet and Old Settlers. So you'd have that portion there. It's funny, you call it west of 2499, but it takes a big bend, so at some point west becomes south of 2499. On that side, can I just use that side of 2499 and this side of 2499? So everybody on that side of 2499 is going to go to Old Settlers in option one. And you can look and see where we go in terms of capacity and utilization. By utilization percentage, they're both kind of there in the low to mid 70s. But again, the growth is going to be where Bluebonnet currently exists and not where Old Settlers exists. That's pretty flat overall. And then if you look at option two, we have maintained the current boundary there on that southern edge of Old Settlers, and we have instead crossed the line at 2499 and brought in some of that area that's being developed there to the east of 2499 and brought that in to Old Settlers attendance zone. In option two, you bring in fewer students into Old Settlers than you do in option one, so it's a little bit less capacity relief for Bluebonnet in option two than it is in option one. But there is a proximity piece there, and that's why we wanted to bring both of these to you. Unfortunately, there's a lot of distance to cover between some of our southern boundary there and Old Settlers Elementary School. In terms of transportation, you see the current enrollment's 480 at Bluebonnet, 565 at Old Settlers. In terms of transportation, option one carries no change in eligible ridership. We'd have the same number of students eligible to ride. It's just that instead of being eligible on a hazardous route to Bluebonnet, they're eligible on a 2-mile rule to Old Settlers. Option two, we would have some students that would become riders of a hazardous route. They'd be crossing 2499. We expect that would be 2 buses needed to serve that impact.
So that really is sort of the crux of the matter is, if you look at option one and you look at Virginia Parkway and all that, Henry Parkway and all that's on the other side, I guess, Dr. Coburn. They're already being bused. They're being bused to Bluebonnet. Now the point is they'd be bused to Old Settlers, which is a further distance, which is why option two was put in. Now you're touching kids that closer to Old Settlers to send that way, but there aren't really any great fixes for this map, unless you want to head north. And the problem is, north already doesn't have Garden Ridge doesn't have enough kids that you can take from there and send south to Bluebonnet. So that's the dilemma that Dr. Coburn and Rocky faced.
We probably played with this more in terms of just, well, what if we did this and what if we did this than anything else that we looked at, just in terms of seeing if we could do something about the geography. I mean, geography gets in the way on this one. There's just no getting around it. So
Crossley?
How many students are affected in option 1, and how many students are affected in option 2?
Okay, well, so looking at just the current numbers, 480 at Bluebonnet, 565 at Old Settlers, and in option 1, that would change to 390 and 659. And again, these numbers aren't exactly correct, so yeah, you're looking at about 90 kids. And that number increases a little bit with option 2.
Can we just add some classrooms at Old Settlers, since we're there right now anyway? And most of the undeveloped land we're looking at is actually option 2, correct?
Well, yes.
Where we don't have is option 2.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
I mean, I'm just trying, I guess I'm trying to differentiate between
Look at,
kind
look
of
at,
the two.
look at the map Rocky's put up and sort of
Okay.
shows.
Okay.
So yellow is,
You're looking over the big
Yeah.
screen there.
New subdivision.
all
How about on
Southgate.
your map, Rocky?
Yeah.
Just
Go
use
through
your
it.
map.
I'm sorry.
Yes, the yellow outlines are areas where we know there's future development.
Okay,
And so you're looking at option 2.
yeah.
So we know
the
there's some
green.
homes that are being built in this green. Already active, there's just still some construction. Yellow is completely future.
6 of one, half dozen of the
And,
other.
and the yellow to the very south.
Southgate, right?
Is actually, some of that's multifamily, right? Is that right,
Well,
Rocky?
of this,
Yeah, right in there.
right.
But that's not high yield,
Yes, 20 years
Oh,
from
yeah,
now.
that's
20
right.
years from now.
He'll pull it
Multifamily
up.
apartments?
He'll pull it up.
Southgate, and, you know, they talked about,
Yeah.
we just don't know what. I think if, you know, it's what, we don't know what's gonna happen south of this. Fine, this area, this right now, Southgate stays in.
That's the apartment complex down there?
There's nothing that's.
What is to the west of that?
Yeah, the one to the west of it, it's just called the Graham Tract, and they've got 53 homes. Also have 314 more. Watching to see how these do. It does have a multifamily component as well.
More questions, Ms. Crossley? Ms. Hassett?
I have the same concern with this map as I had earlier. There is scads of undeveloped land that could go any which way in these properties. Along the, I think we need to make sure that we allow enough room in the Bluebonnet area for all of this growth. I don't like moving students, either one, we're moving students. 90 students is a lot. But there could be quite a bit of growth in these lots. This one concerns me on how can we project it and not move it again in 5 years. I'm not in love with either one of them.
Yeah, and we're not either.
Yeah.
There's just not a good fix on these maps.
But I understand with the proximity to actual Old Settlers, because that would be a long travel up to Old Settlers on option 1, but it also allows for more growth in Bluebonnet if we move the students in the south to Old Settlers.
Along the bus, I'm sorry, along the bus.
Find out.
Flooding, no flooding.
With no cell phone service.
Nice. right, Ms. Timish.
You can't get cell phone
Um,
service if you're going up 24.99.
I think
to
for
go up to
me,
Shattuck.
zoning dirt would always be my first preference. I think long-term, the idea of using 24.99 is a clean break between them makes sense. I just know initially that's going to be very difficult because it just seems like we're flip-flopping. We've got to pick some area, but I do like the clean line of having 24.99 divide between the two.
Bills?
I think, I agree. I think that if we're gonna go natural boundary, I think it's $24.99. I had the same questions on how many students did that affect, and so those numbers.
What you've got on the screen is option 2.
That's option one.
That's option 1.
It's option 1. Yeah, this is 24.99 being the natural boundary.
Yes, sir.
This red here is, that's
That's just
artificial.
current.
I'm for that plan. I know there's a lot of dirt that can be moved, but, you know, frankly, if we had to, we could cut back over here, rezone some of this, and add to grandfather, but I think letting 24.99 be the natural boundary is the best way to go.
Ms. Luzon?
I tend to agree with that as well, as far as the 24.99 boundary. I do have a little question. Did you, or have you had an opportunity to do any sort of, with the GI software, to do any sort of like street routing, just to see how long it takes? I would just be curious to see, because I'm pretty sure down there, where we're talking about, you know, flipping, they still have to come out on 24.99, right? And
That's
drive, and so, yeah, and so, I guess that's, I was just curious if, you know, do you ever do that?
We haven't ran that.
Okay.
We haven't ran any time
Okay,
modeling. We don't typically do that.
okay. Okay, I was just curious. Down, and then my other question is, down here at Lakeside, in these new apartments that they're building, I'm just curious, like, how many kids do we have in these apartments? And they're building the big, you know, tower down there. I mean, like, do we have many kids in these apartments down there?
I mean, some of them are so new, we can see, I've got, you know, a few kids.
Oh, yeah.
But right now, totally, there are 78 students.
I would have thought.
How many did you say?
78.
Now, when you say students, are those elementary, are those middle, are those high school, or are they just students?
That was my next, that's total students.
Hi, we're in the weeds over
We're right.
here.
34 of them are elementary.
Okay, wow.
It's typically about
About half. That's
That's still more than I would
Pretty
have
normal.
thought.
And that's
if they're in there.
you know,
And how many houses is that? Did you select?
Apartments. It
Those-
says apartments.
Those were the apartments?
that's 425 units. You know, we're looking at over 800 units, so the overall yield is not.
That's really low.
Probably.
Yeah.
It is, but it's still more than I would have thought
Yeah.
was down there, actually.
I'm
surprised by the number of
elementary.
They're high-end apartments, too.
Plus that big tower that's going in there.
Yeah, we have the tower, it's just 52 units.
Yeah, there'll probably be like 2 kids there maybe.
Yeah, 2 kids.
Lucky kids.
They,
get to go
a
to
helicopter to Liberty Christian.
Any other questions, Ms. Luzon? Okay, so I concur with Ms. Hassett. I'm a little concerned about, you know, the growth and development, so, but I do like the 24.99 line. So I guess my little big question would be is, I didn't realize the school was so small, Bluebonnet, so would there ever be an opportunity to build on where the land there?
Oh,
We
absolutely.
felt that in the
There's
bottom.
space.
That was
So-
denied the bond.
That's our big.
So
piece.
somewhere in the,
Yeah.
somewhere in
But-
the future, if y'all,
But if it came to that, I guess
Yeah,
that would,
absolutely.
there would be an opportunity.
there's
Yeah.
absolutely space to do that.
Okay. Any other questions? All right.
Okay.
Moving right along, we're
Yeah.
nearly done.
We talked about transportation and
With our handouts.
we handled questions. So, next steps, we've talked about a lot of these things, but this is one of those things we wanted to gather your input on, was obviously just your feedback on where we are in general. What sort of opportunities for public input, comment you wanted to have exist? We have, as Dr. Rogers mentioned earlier, I set a couple dates aside on his calendar way back a long time ago that they've just been, Jamie's been wonderful, has just been holding those for us, to have some public
I
meetings.
thought you were gonna just handle it.
Oh, well, they are also saved on my calendar, sir. I'll be more than happy to be right there with you. But we do plan to bring this for discussion at the regular October meeting, and present recommendations to the board at the November meeting as an action item. The 4 boundary adjustments that we presented to you tonight, we would be planning to implement for the 2019-2020 school year. Again, the first 2 we really have to do, but the other 2 you could consider waiting. I think what we want to know is what your take was on how many of these options you would want to continue forward into discussion in October. What sort of format you would like to see. I know one of the things Dr. Rogers and I had discussed was, would we want to have a meeting specific to Hedrick, or would we want to just have a couple of meetings where input could be provided on any and all of these different boundary adjustments that we discussed tonight? And this is where we'd like to hear from you about where to go.
I thought for sure we had landed on for sure a separate one for Hedrick. The question is, do you want 4 different meetings, public input? That's the question. It could be done either way. Of course, really what we'll do is, like Joe said, we'll bring this back to you as discussion, but before we ask you to take action in November, we'll have all those meetings done. I mean, that's our goal.
Ms. Hassett?
I don't know, giving more meetings and more options to discuss all of them at one time might be better for our community, rather than having one meeting only per option for zone. So I don't care either way, just as long as our public has the most opportunity to participate. And gone, I'll think of it in a minute.
Ms. Timish?
I think for me, a question would be, what's our capacity? Because I think if we're going to do multiple meetings, I want to make sure that we're not over-committing and under-delivering. I mean, that's a question.
Oh, I found my other question, too.
I think, Ms. Timish, to me, if you're gonna have more meetings, then to me, it would make sense to have individual meetings for that. I think if you're gonna have 4 meetings, then you ought to have one per map, because that way people, I'd be a little frustrated if I'm coming on map 4 and yet 90% of what I hear is about maps 1, 2, and 3, so I think if that's what we want to do, we would just have 4 separate meetings for the 4 different boundaries. And do we have capacity to do that? Absolutely.
So I think for me, I mean, just doing the first 2 immediately and making sure we do it well, especially with Return Hedrick and then the new boundaries for the new Mill Street. I mean, I think for me, just immediately rolling those out, making sure we're communicating with parents. My concern with adding the second 2 is just, I feel like we're already almost to November. There's just this, and my concern would be we're cramming too much in a short period of time to really give parents and everybody the input that they need to do. So, I mean, because of the time period, I know we have to do the first 2 schools. I don't mind just, but I guess if we have to roll it out for the calendar, we have to do them pretty quick. Does it have to, I guess my question is, could we push the 3rd and 4th to December?
Yeah, we can absolutely push the others. I think if you're gonna push them, I think it means you push them another year. I think if I'm a parent, I'd want to know sooner than later what's gonna happen. As we said, the first 2, we don't have a choice to push that to another year, but certainly we could push the other 2. There's not something that mandates that just have to do that. The only negative of pushing back, for instance, the fourth boundary is, once again, more activities happening,
Yeah.
and now there might be
People.
some construction in these areas that aren't built on right now, and so that's the double-edged sword of that.
Well, I guess, and I'm fine with doing all four, I just want to make sure that our staff has the capacity to communicate to all those communities and the elected people that would have a stakeholders, that we're not putting too much in a short period of time, that we're just really, those are four big projects. I just want to make sure that we roll it out and partner well with the community.
And I would be great with having the board take action on the first two in November, and the last two, I think, is what you're suggesting in December, which I will tell you, based on past practice, is still well in advance of what we've ever provided that input. And so, that would give another month to have some meaningful and it not be convoluted, I think. So, if that works for the board, we'd be great with having an extra month on the last two, and still having everything settled by December.
My other question I forgot was just about the Bluebonnet timeline. And you said you could push the other two, up the second and the third and fourth. How far could you push Bluebonnet? But if you're willing to do it still this year, because Bluebonnet has the most activity right now that people could be moving, and if we're trying to mitigate any problems, Bluebonnet's going to be right up there with the other two.
I totally agree, Ms. Hassett, and just a reminder, as we mentioned about grandfathering, we won't get to the numbers in the first couple of years because of grandfathering. So, we can't put it off.
The other thing with Bluebonnet is you're back to the initial idea. I think Ms. Timish is the one that said, I like moving dirt instead of people.
Yeah.
And if you do it this year, you're moving more dirt and fewer people.
Right, which would be better. And then with the grandfathering, you'll have less issue with capacity issues if you do it this year rather than later, because otherwise, wait another year, you're going to have grandfathering capacity issues.
I'm okay with moving forward with these. My big concern is that if we did only one meeting for each of the different, these are meetings that are going to be convenient for us, not necessarily, they're on our calendar tentatively because they're convenient for us. And so if we don't make it convenient for our parents, I want to make sure that there is that option for them somehow to not only their voice be heard, but also for us to hear what that voice is. And so I don't know if it would be possible if we were going to have a Saturday meeting that we stagger those meetings where
Have a couple on.
where we have a couple
Saturday.
here and a couple there, and then at the end of those meetings, even give for the plans not being discussed, for somebody that didn't have the opportunity at the scheduled meeting, for them to come and address us at that point in time. I just want to give our parents and our community every option, and so that nobody is there saying there wasn't the opportunity because those. So if we have evening meetings or we have day meetings, that whatever the flip-flop of that is, that we consider all of our population in these places.
Makes sense, and I know you understand. We'll never have enough meetings for everyone.
Right.
So.
But they need options.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really?
Yeah, so I see no reason to delay. I think these are not simple by any stretch of the imagination, but they make sense. They make a lot of sense, and I think people, when they hear them, they'll make sense. I think the board, because the board makes the decision on this, I think the board needs to be in every henceforward information gathering. I would propose the following. A 2.5-hour meeting started by a presentation by Dr. Coburn or Dr. Rogers for about 10 minutes. We then are going to, well, we can have this scheduled out. Hey, 30-minute windows, right? We're going to talk about option, whatever. Double Oak, Bridlewood at 3 o'clock. Next one's at 3:30. What we give is an open, let them hear the plan, give them some time to open up. There's a limited time, the chair can run that, and then we have some time to talk as a board. Next item comes up, we present that, again, they have some time to interact. The chair would have a chance to interact with them, and I'm saying here, Ms. Cox is the chair, you could assign it to Dr. Coburn. If we had a question, we could ask the question through you to Dr. Coburn, and we can communicate with the public on that. Each item is about 30 minutes. The meeting's about 3:30, because I'd say this, on the front end, you got about 5-10 minutes set up. On the back end, it's 5-minute summary and about 10 minutes for us to talk, because we kind of have an idea where we're going. We're not going to make a decision. We got one more meeting after that. About 2.5 hours, I think we cover off the 4 options and get them done. Here's my concern about doing 2 and 2. If you're going to do the first 2, you might as well do double oak right away, because it's easy, and you're going to get very little resistance. So you might as well get it done, right? That's my thought. Don't park it into something just because we're going 2 for 2. But I think we could get everything done, frankly, in a process like that.
I love the idea. I'm not for sure we can hear public input on 4 formats in 2.5 hours.
I think we can ask Jeff to look into that. I think if he says yes, then Dr. Rogers, I'll leave it to you and Ms. Cox on how to do it.
Yeah.
But I think you'll find that there is a provision under the law that does allow that.
Mrs. Zahn?
I think it would be, I personally like the idea of doing Hedrick and Mill Street, concentrate on them first, and then do Bluebonnet and the other for a December approval. Now, that still would be rolled out for next school year, right? Okay.
Right.
So, because I think then we can spread it out, because we're talking about, I think we're talking about having at least probably 2 meetings per school zone, right? Maybe, possibly, maybe, okay. Anyway, we'll decide that later, but anyway, I think that might be easier on everyone if we did it that way, but that's just my opinion. But yes, go for it. Let's do it.
I don't like to sit, so I believe in doing all 4. Whether we do it in a staggered way is, to me, irrelevant. What is important to me is that we have at least 4 separate public hearings, 1 for each one, because these are 4 separate and unique communities. And I think that it would be disingenuous for us to not focus just on one community and one boundary at a time. I think that we need, as Ms. Sells says, to be deferential into who our community is. And just like our students, meet them where we find them, and that means meeting them at times that are convenient to them. So that would be my input.
Sassy, and follow-up?
I am concerned about limiting to half an hour. That's 2 minutes and 15 people speaking on one boundary. We're going to have more people wanting to speak, even on a 2-minute. I just am afraid of a 30-minute time slot for every. That's not enough public input. So.
Just a clarifying question. So if we're meeting them with where they're at, have we ever done these at like the affected campus? So we're actually having these meetings so that it's more convenient for parents, would be able to communicate. I'd like to have these at the campuses.
Absolutely. That's actually where they've been held in the past.
So we're not asking parents to come back to
That's absolutely right. You have it in that neighborhood or one of the schools that's affected, not at the administration. I've never attended one at the administration.
Excellent, thank you.
So, anyone else? Any extra comments? So, I guess my comments would be, as I concur with my fellow board members, but I would like to split it up myself and have the 2 in December and the 2 in November, because I feel that this room is going to be full, and everybody deserves their opportunity. And as Ms. Prosick said, she doesn't like to sit down. I don't expect our parents to either, to sit through a 4-hour meeting just waiting to speak on the one map that they, came here for. So I think we need to be conscious of that as well. So hopefully that will be a decision made.
We'll make it work.
Else?
That's
Anything
it.
else?
That's it.
No.
Okay, if there's no further
Oh,
business.
wait, no, there is actually, I
there's
do.
one more
Yeah, I mean, because
Figures.
what would you rather talk about after talking about boundaries all night than more boundaries?
boundaries.
This is the format to talk about what other boundaries we get to talk about in the future. We are growing in the east. We are going to need to talk about boundaries in the east and adjusting for growth and construction. That is something that will continue to be on our radar. It's something that my friend Rocky over there and I discuss quite often. We will have a middle school in Hedrick Middle School that will have more capacity than the existing Hedrick Middle School, and it is exciting to think about what opportunities can exist for our school district to take advantage of that additional capacity, whether it's boundary adjustments or other things. The Lewisville High School feeder pattern is growing, and we're running out of capacity at some of those schools, and so we will have to look at some boundary adjustments for capacity concerns sooner rather than later, not in the next couple months, but more like for next year. I think we'll probably bring that to you about this time a year from now. And then in all of this is the impacts on, as we increasingly look at choice options for schools and try to become, make sure that everyone knows what I know, which is that we are the best option and provide more opportunities and choices for people than anyone does. But as we have more schools of choice and things of that nature, how does that affect boundary discussions and decisions? And that's going to be ongoing.
First off, Board, we appreciate your perseverance through this. Important discussion. Those maps, they are drafts, so we, ask that you, I think Dr. Coburn's going to collect them back, and if you need something in a different way as a draft, then we'll certainly provide that. And it, tonight reminds me a little bit of what my predecessor, Dr. Roy, used to say when he was talking about boundary adjustments. He said he would prefer to donate his spleen. And I sort of tend to agree with that. But I'm ready to go home.
So I just have a quick question. Are the east side boundary considerations in the Lewisville High School feeders and the capacity at Hedrick, that's going to come back to us at the same time next year?
Yes, we'll begin working on that this spring for y'all to see it next year, somewhere around this time.
I just didn't know how future we were talking.
Okay, if there's no further business, you sure, Dr. Coburn?
We're ready.
I am very sure.
Okay.
Yes,
I'd
ma'am.
like to talk about the boundaries
The
of
meeting
state
is
Texas.
adjourned, and the time is now 8:34.
I just need your maps.
Thank y'all very much.
Can I keep, I took some,
That two form. This is
Doctor, took some notes. Can I keep this? Is that okay? No.
We'll see you, Christine.
Well, was it as riveting as you